Hello, I'm Eyston Perez, a member of LIBOR's Board of Directors and a Queens-based realtor. As realtors, we wear a lot of hats, but the biggest hat is that of a negotiator. Whether with clients or other realtors, you've got to be skilled and confident when it comes to negotiating. Negotiation is a word that can be a little intimidating, especially if we see negotiation as a winner-take-all battle or confrontation. It's not. By the end of this talk, I hope you feel more confident in your negotiation skills at work, and who knows, maybe even at home. Today we're going to talk about just 3 scenarios where realtors need to negotiate. First, we'll talk about negotiation with buyers. We now must have buyers sign a buyer's agreement to tour a property. So right away, you're in a negotiation with a lot of unknowns. Second, we'll talk about negotiating with sellers. Third, we'll cover negotiating with other real estate agents, even the challenging ones. In between, we'll bounce back and forth, using some real-world examples to bring negotiating strategies to life. In my experience, successful negotiation involves 8 steps: preparation, active listening and empathy, building rapport, flexibility and creativity, professionalism, documentation, knowing when to walk away, and projecting confidence. Let's start with buyers. How do you prepare for negotiation with buyers you've possibly never met in person? Step 1 is preparation. If you get an inquiry from a potential buyer about a listing, you obviously need to be prepared to discuss that property. But sometimes you need to do more. If you're very familiar with the area, great. But if you're not, you need to do extra homework. The intelligence I want is more than I can gather from RPR, comps, and geodata. You need to do extra homework. I like to know about recent buyers in that neighborhood, where the best shopping is, what's on the horizon for the area, and what was it like in the past. Insights like that are really hard to get from a search. And it's added value intelligence you can immediately deliver to your client. So call an expert. Maybe it's the listing agent, maybe not. Find out who the top seller is in that neighborhood. Reach out to them in person. This is where it's really helpful to use your LIBOR network. Ask your broker. Go on the LIBOR website, lirealtor.com, and use the Find an Agent search tool for some names. The second part of your preparation is managing expectations. Let's go back to our buyers. I always have an initial consultation with potential buyers. Because let's face it, if the first thing I say is, I know you want to see this house, but you're going to have to sign an agreement with me to see the house, that may put some people off. I believe you've got to build some value before you can ask for something. So I offer something of value saying, let me walk you through what home buying is like today. That way you're up to speed on the latest steps. The consultation leads most buyers to conclude they definitely need help. Once we've established that the buyers may need some help, I'm on much better footing to discuss how much that professional help is worth. Then I talk about the buyer's agreement. I'll highlight what the rules are and how things have changed. And then I'll say, I'd like to have an agreement together just for this specific house. This way, if you do like the property and we hit it off, we both know what to expect. And if you don't like the property, it would have at least given us an opportunity to get acquainted with each other. This way we'll know what to expect before you hire me as your exclusive buyer's agent. This approach takes any perceived pressure off. Now I've educated and managed the buyer's expectations from the very beginning of the relationship. That builds rapport and trust. Plus, I've negotiated fair terms for my compensation in the buyer's agreement. The third part of preparation is role-playing. Find someone to pretend to be your negotiating opponent and give them a list of possible rebuttals you might get. Let yourself trip up, make mistakes. Obviously, it helps if the person's a salesperson or in the business, but even if it's a friend or a family member, that's fine. Maybe have your friend take a video of you. Through role-playing, you can have an answer ready for almost anything someone throws at you. Okay, so we're thoroughly prepared and are ready to negotiate. Step 2 of negotiating involves active listening and empathy. Let's tackle this one by jumping over to the seller side. Now you're working on a new listing. First, you must uncover the motivation of the seller. What's the reason for the sale? Where are they looking to go? What's their most urgent problem? Is it paying 2 mortgages? Do they need to move for a new job or family reasons? Once we understand their motivation, we're in a better place to deal with some scenarios we may encounter. Here's an example. Say you've got a seller who's hell-bent on a certain price. Maybe that price is over all the comps you've researched. I call this the dug-in seller. My approach with such clients is to listen. I don't immediately start negotiating with them on price. Instead, I want to get them to an early yes. I might say, let's start at your number. It is high, and I don't recommend it, but we can try it. I'll do my very best to get you what you want. But if in a few weeks, if we don't get any bites, we'll have another conversation and adjust the price. I don't want to see your home sitting for no reason. Remember, no one likes to be told no. Instead, I show them that I'm listening and flexible, but within reason. In the process, I manage their expectations so that when a few weeks passes with no movement, they're usually prepared to lower the price. Step 3 in successful negotiating is building rapport. Whether with consumers or other agents, you gotta have a little fun with this stuff. Let's talk about building client rapport. I try to make relationships a little lighthearted. Make people laugh. Deadly serious and tense is not the vibe you wanna have established in your interactions, because there's always gonna be some bad news. If you created a rapport where you can kid around a bit, when the bad news day comes, the client may try to keep the lighthearted rapport going, even in the face of unwelcome news. You've pretty much prepared them how to react to this moment with your prior interactions. You may say something like, hey, you know what? The sellers accepted another offer, but the truth is, you were nervous about the pool anyway, and you called that third bedroom a closet. And the client might say, you're right, let's just move on. We also need to build rapport with other agents. We all know that there's a lot of competition in the business. You will encounter agents who may not want to share or assume that you don't know what you're doing. To build rapport with other agents, especially people I haven't worked with, I do a couple of things. First, I find common ground. All agents do a lot of work behind the scenes, and we experience similar crazy things. It helps to build rapport by finding common ground. I was at a showing that was hosted by an agent I slightly knew. As we went through the house, I pointed out a few things to my buyer that I knew the listing agent had done to make the property show well. The listing agent looked at me silently and was like, oh wow, you noticed. Yeah, of course I noticed. Without saying a word to the agent, I conveyed, I see you're doing a great job, working hard. That kind of interaction signals to the other agent that you're not the enemy, and that they'll be more likely to want to see you at the negotiating table. That agent will also remember you even if the house doesn't work out. There may be another day where you'll both come together and can laugh about orange kitchen cabinets or 70s carpet. The second part of building rapport with other agents is to give them the benefit of the doubt. I had another situation where another agent had a listing at a very low price. Did I ask, why is your listing so cheap? No. I said, I noticed your price was very competitive. I didn't say the word cheap or ask what's wrong with the property or question their pricing. Instead, he told me that the property had no garage, the owners were flippers, and wanted more eyes on the house. I said, very smart of you to price that way. So when other agents see me noticing their work, complimenting their listing, I'm signaling that we're both professionals and both doing the right thing for our clients. That mutual rapport and respect will lead to a smoother negotiation down the road. Step number 4 is flexibility and creativity. Let's revisit our sellers. The stubborn seller. You may have a seller who gets a very solid offer, but is inflexible, especially in a hot market. Sometimes people have to lose a good offer to recognize a good offer. If you find yourself in this situation, you can tell the client that you honestly think it's a good offer. However, if they're still hesitant, they can buy a little time. They can accept the offer and let the home inspection happen. It should buy them a week or longer before a contract has to be signed. During that time, you'll say, "I'll still try to get you a better offer." It goes back to their motivation. The extra time may make them more flexible. Now we're back to our buyers. You may encounter buyers who want to put in a lowball offer. I try to prevent this before it happens. Before we go look at a single house, part of my initial consultation discussion covers what it means to put in a successful offer. That way, when we do find a house and they may be tempted to lowball, I've already taught them about the potential risks. I say that of course we can put in their offer, but in my experience, here are some possible outcomes. The seller will be offended. They will dismiss us as not serious. If you put in a second strong offer, they still may not take us seriously. So listen to the client, but be confident in sharing your counsel up front. That way clients won't later feel like it's a personal attack or you're just telling them no. The fifth step in successful negotiating is always remain professional and calm, even in difficult situations. If I'm upset, I'm not going to make a call or fire off a text. I wait. I do whatever it takes to get back to neutral first. Then once you're there, even if the other party comes back hot, you can say, "Hey, time out. Let's work something out that we can propose to both of our clients that'll show them we have their best interests in mind and that they're both winning in this deal." Part of professionalism involves working with all kinds of agents. I've dealt with a veteran agent who was cutting me off every time I spoke. Their attitude was, "I've been in the business for 30 years. What are you going to tell me?" Instead of getting angry, I diffused the situation. I gave them credit. I said, "I know you've been in the business a long time and done a lot of deals. You obviously know how to sell houses. But this is the first deal you're doing with these buyers and probably with that seller. I'd like to get to a place where we put ourselves aside and focus on servicing our clients. Because my buyers are serious. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you right now." Another thing to be cautious of is adopting the anger of a client. Maybe you have a buyer who's ranting. "I'm not paying that much. The house is not worth that." To maintain professionalism, I have to relay that message very differently. Some agents make the mistake of mimicking the energy they receive from a client. They then project negativity back to the other side, saying something like, "Don't you realize the house is overpriced? If I was pricing it, I would have set it at X." That's no way to prepare for negotiation with that agent. The sixth step in successful negotiation is documentation. After I get off a call with a client or an agent, I always send a text with a recap of what we just spoke about. That way, there's a record. I'll tell the person, after we get off the phone, I'm going to shoot you a quick text with some summary bullet points just to make sure I don't forget anything and we're both on the same page. I don't always like to document calls in an email because it can feel too formal. But clear documentation is a must for later negotiation. Step number 7 in successful negotiation is knowing when to walk away. We're in the business of getting to yes. But in a negotiation, there has to be a point where you're willing to walk away. Let's go back to our buyers who wanted to put in that lowball offer. You advised them of the possible bad outcomes, but they wanted to go ahead, you presented their offer, and as predicted, they didn't get the house. Now they want to make another lowball offer on a different property. I might say, "I understand you guys are looking for a deal, but word will get around quickly that we're putting in lowball offers. And I've got to protect my professional credibility. So it might be better if you guys find another agent willing to invest the time that it's going to take to find you something so far below asking price." There's power in no. And it might just bring the client back to a reasonable negotiating mindset. Step number 8 in successful negotiating is to project confidence and practice. Even if you're new, if you've done your homework and followed the 8 steps, you can project confidence in your negotiating abilities. As with everything, practice makes perfect. Continue to learn by doing, observing others, and practicing these negotiating strategies. I'm Eyston Perez, and thanks for joining me for this LIBOR Master Class on negotiating.